Coming up in Down Under EV Adventures, it's all about towing with the Sealion 7. So if you own one or you're thinking about owning one for that purpose, well, here's the episode you've been waiting for. We do a tow test and we give you all the information that you'll ever need. Let's check it out. Welcome back everyone to Down Under EV Adventures. It's great to have you with us today for this episode where we're going to look all about towing, especially with the Sealion 7. So if you've been following the channel for a while, you'll know that I do tow quite a bit. So I'm happy to say the Sealion 7 is doing excellent with towing. So we'll have a look into it in more detail. Now, I have done several episodes in the past on towing. So firstly with the Atto 3 and then with the Volvo, which I owned just before this one. So I will put some links in the description so you can go ahead, if you've got those vehicles, you can have a look, and they also have some information about towing in general. But today it's all about the Sealion 7. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by taking you back to last month, so to the 22nd of April. So it's the day after I bought the car, and I'm in Merredin on my trip home, and I actually installed the Towbar. So obviously I had somebody install the main components of the Towbar, and then when I got to Merredin, I actually show you how to fix the Towbar onto the back and give you a bit of information about that. So let's go back in time a little bit, where you can join me and I'll take you through how to install the EV Stealth Towbar for the Sealion 7. Let's check it out. Before it gets dark here, I'm going to have a go at putting my Stealth Towbar on. Wish me luck. Right, so underneath here you've got some screws, which I think it's just a matter of... Here we go. So they should just pop out. Just like these little plastic screws like that. So I'll get rid of them. So they're just 3. You just turn it once and they come out. Now hopefully, aha, this just slides out now, he says. There's something holding it in the top bit. You can see it's got 2 clips in the side here, as well as that 3 screws at the bottom. So I'm going to have a jiggle around with this and see how easy it is to get off. Right, so it was just a matter of pulling it. They've got these little clips that slide in here, you can see the little grooves, and then they go into these little slots. That was a little bit stiff to pull out. That's what's holding it on the most, not so much these ones. Bottom. Now you can see the trailer plug just hangs loose on the right hand side here, so it's a bit different. So it's not fixed, but that shouldn't be an issue. Kindly given me 2 of these U-bolts, which are handy as well. They're for your brake chains. And then the actual hitch goes vertical instead of horizontal like it normally is on a rear hitch. So I'll pull stuff out the back and find the tow balls now. This is what you get. You get 2 attachments. This one is for the tow bar itself. It's a standard 50mm tow ball, and it's rated to 3.5 tons, but I can only tow a maximum of 1.5 tons. The vertical bit which you slide up there, then they give you this attachment here, which I believe he said was for like bike rack or something like that, if you wanted to put a bike rack on the back, or you know, maybe a spare tire would also be something you could put in that, although I couldn't imagine what that would do to the economy. I've got a spare tire attachment at home which I bought a few years ago for my Mitsubishi. I might even do some economy tests with it and see how it goes. That would be an interesting experiment to do. But anyway, I'm just going to put the tow hitch on now, see what it looks like. Put this somewhere safe, because although I'm going to leave the tow bar in most of the time, perhaps on a long trip I'll take it off. I can't imagine it would affect economy that much, but yeah, who knows, maybe I might just leave it in. But still, when you go to sell the car later on, you probably want to put this back on. And it's pretty nifty the way it's done here. It's really a good idea. Just another modern thing that they're doing with cars, which sure beats the old system. You put that in, This one's a bit tricky. You have to actually put the bolt in up here on the side where you've got some gap. I don't know how well you can see that. And then slide it in because it's a tight fit. And of course you put your R-clip here in so that the bolt doesn't come out. And that's what it looks like. So quite a nice finish on it. And then of course this bolt here prevents this one from slipping out. You can't see it, but up here on this side there's a bolt similar to this, and then what you do is you tighten that up, and then that will stop this being loose. So you're going to have to get a socket or a spanner up there and tighten that up, but I've just finger tightened that, and you can see already it's a lot tighter there. So I'm just going to find myself a spanner. I don't think I've got quite the ones with me. This is a 17, it's a little bit too loose, so my guess is it's either a 16 or perhaps even an Imperial, though I doubt it. So I'll try my best to tighten it with this. A little bit of cleverness and putting that right up there. You can actually do it with a 17, but I suspect a 16 is probably the right size. Voila, that is what it looks like. So a nice shiny knob. And probably to put I think to get the trailer plug in there shouldn't be too hard, because it does come out a little bit, you can see here. The brake chains, they're going to be a little bit fiddly because they're right in there, but it should give you a nice neat finish. And that is the EV Stealth tow bar done by Towlink for the BYD Sealion 7. I'm looking forward now to getting home, putting my trailer on, and seeing just how much of an improvement this is going to be over the Volvo. Now I've just plugged it in, and I can say it was very hard to get that chain in there. I'm going to have to dangle, I think, some of those U-bolts down to make it easier to put the brake chain on. Similarly, the plug was difficult to get on, so I might have to see if I can fasten that somehow. But the good news is, guess what? My trailer lights work just fine. Just fine. Nothing wrong with it. And I've tested out the indicators already. So the stupid bloody Volvo was the problem, not my trailer, which is what I suspected all along. So take right indicator on, I'll go and have a look. Right indicator, and the left indicator works. And I just did do some preliminary checks right there when I got back to Kalgoorlie. But what we'll do now is we'll go and have a look at the trailer that I just looked at just a couple of days ago, and we'll look at it externally and we'll go over a few more things. So let's do that now. Right, so as you saw in Merredin how to install it, and I'm left with this plug here which is sort of just hanging down. I have thought about screwing that in and fastening it, but I'm not so sure. I mean, it seems to be fine here. I may be able to do something at a later date, maybe put it in further and screw it in there so you won't see it. I haven't really decided, but it seems to be okay. Sort of just holding it up here so you can see I've bent the cable here which comes, and put some tape around it just so it doesn't hang down too low, catch on anything. But it seems to be okay. Really the only thing that's untidy, I guess. With this one here, it's quite high up where the tow chain, the brake chain I should say, goes onto it. So I've put two U-bolts so that my U-bolt for the trailer chain is a bit lower and it's easy to do. And obviously that doesn't hang down too low. Now overall this is an excellent tow vehicle. So mine is the performance version, so I can tow up to 1,500 kilograms. Now I will put some more information on this screen explaining about that. If ever I was to tow like a small caravan or something that weighs a little bit more than my little trailer here, then obviously you need to get the electric brakes put in, which would, involve a little bit more work. So just interrupting there, so if you've got the premium version you can tow 750 kilograms, no need for the brakes on that, that's unbraked. And of course if you've got the performance version you can actually increase that to 1500 kilograms if it's braked, otherwise it's the same as the premium. 750 kilograms is unbraked. My trailer's only around about 350 kilos, even with all this stuff on. The most it would get up to is maybe 400 kilos, you know, when I'm put quite a bit of stuff in it. It's only if I would really like pack it up that it would be a lot more closer to that limit. I'll put on the screen some information about aerodynamics. So it's not just the weight you're worried about, it's also about the airflow over the car. So I'll just explain quickly. So this is when I did a trip with the Volvo to Perth. I took that cage off because the way the air flows over the top of the car here, it will go down the back of the car, and then when you've got such a flat object now without that cage in the way, then you've got less of a disturbance of the airflow. You still will have some resistance, some air resistance, but it will be mainly weight. Whereas you can see here with my trailer up here, the air will flow down the back of the car, but then it's hitting more of a resistance here with the cage, and then that's going to disturb the air more, and it's going to actually then increase the drag on the car, and therefore you're going to use more energy to push your car through it in addition to the weight. So I'll show you more of that here as I'll explain it in real time. Now you can see this trailer, the top lip of the cage there is about the same height, but I think it's a little bit higher than what the Sealion is. So the Sealion is a bit lower than what the Volvo was, but it didn't matter. Even with the Volvo, if I was to do a long trip, I would take the cage off. So if you were going to do a long trip, you want to make that trailer as flat as possible. Now the only other thing I talked about in the previous episodes, which you may have seen, was about the rear lights. So several BYD models have this feature where even if the car is off, so my car's off and locked, you'll still get these lights coming on. I'm assuming that it is a safety feature over there. Perhaps in China they need to do that, and it's sort of come over now and filtered through to our BYDs that we get here in Australia. But again, it's LED lights, they don't draw much power. I haven't had a single problem in the several weeks that I've been towing since I bought the car, and now I'm sort of used to it. It doesn't really bother me. I mean, obviously you can still unplug the car if you don't want this, at night time. I guess if you were camping or something and the lights were bothering you, well, you could unplug it. Otherwise, here at night time, I don't really care. They can stay on. It doesn't bother me. And actually, while I'm parked somewhere, I think it's not a bad idea. It might make people wonder if someone's in the car or not. They might think somebody's in the car and they've got their foot on the brake pedal or something. Perhaps that would potentially stop someone from doing something to your car too. So overall, it's not a bad feature, I think. Before we wrap up, I did do a tow test. So I charged to 100% and I drive around as per normal, and I just see what the economy is and what the expected range is towing my little trailer, to give you a rough idea out there what you can expect. And this test was all done at around speeds varying between 40 and 70 kilometers an hour. I rarely drive more than 70 around town. Alright, so I've charged to 100%, and now I'm going to do this trailer test. I just charged to 100 just to make it a bit easier for me, and I might go down to about 50% and see how we go on the economy. So that economy is sticking around 25 to 26. Sometimes it's up as high as 27, sometimes it's as low as in the low 25s. So for what that's worth, 67%. So I've used 1/3 and it's saying 94.5. That will put me on target for around about 270 to 280 at this stage. But we'll keep going. I'm going to go to at least 50% with this test. We are 50% of the way through, so that's where we'll end our test. It's saying 135.9 according to the trip meter, but that puts us on target for about 270. But I'll go away and work it out exactly. Now, while I was recording this, I was busy yakking away and I forgot to put the right economy at the past 50 k's on the screen. I had the cumulative one on there for some reason. But anyway, all I said was that I preferred driving this car around to the Volvo with the high regeneration braking option. So the Volvo only ever had none, or you could have one pedal driving, but I didn't like driving in one pedal because I found it difficult to use the cruise control. However, just for a comparison, I never did a proper around town test with the Volvo. I did a long distance one, but not around town, and it always seemed to average around 30 to 31. But Again, I don't know how accurate that was. It may have been higher. For this test, it was saying on the dashboard around 27, 28 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, but we know that's always wildly optimistic. It always is a lot higher, so these are the actual figures now. So 50% of the battery equates to 41.25 kilowatt hours, and that was to do 135.9 kilometers, and it left us with a final economy of 30.35 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. So quite a thirsty beast around town, but as I've mentioned on my channel many times, the actual economy doesn't really worry me around town, and that's because I have an excellent solar system and battery, and I can just charge for free 95% of the time. So I just come home and plug it in, so I'm not particularly worried so much, and I certainly do not tow long distances with the trailer unless I have to. Okay, the episode's drawing to a close, but there's one final thing I wanted to go over, and that is about the parking sensors. Now this is probably my only dislike about towing. It's only a small issue though. I did cover it in my 1000 kilometer episode, and what I'll do is I'll just show you again the segment from that. So this is all about the parking sensors from that episode. The weird thing is there's no way to disable the parking sensors. So we'll go inside the car and have a look at that. Now if you go into the ADAS settings here, the parking sensors is a bit weird because if I turn them off here, when I go to reverse, don't know if you can hear that, but they're still coming on. That's something which is a little bit weird because I've got the trailer attached, so I've got no idea. You can see it's just come back on then. So to summarize, this is a fantastic tow vehicle. Of course I can't comment on towing anything bigger than a small trailer. If I ever do, I'll certainly bring an episode about that, but for a small trailer, it's fantastic. You've got the all-wheel drive safety. It's a very safe car to tow. You've got all the power you ever need with the dual motors, so you've got great acceleration. If you do even need to overtake with the trailer, it's not really an issue. So it's a fantastic tow vehicle in my opinion, and so far I've had very little issues with it. The quirk with the lights doesn't bother me, and like I said, just that parking sensor issue, which I'm sure could be easily solved with a software update. So I hope that helps you out there if you're thinking of doing some towing with the Sealion 7. And just remember, you may get different results if you're towing as well. If you live in a city or the suburbs where you do a lot of braking, you know, if there's traffic jams and so on, of course you're going to get much better economy. So you've got to remember that in a country town like Kalgoorlie, it's very spread out and there's not a lot of opportunities for braking. Yes, I do a little bit of regenerative braking, which I think helps, but it's certainly not going to be the same as if I was to say tow in a really busy suburb, or of course going through the city in Perth, or you know, on a dense freeway where you're doing a lot of stop start. So you've got to bear all that in mind. So I'm sure there's going to be someone out there who says, oh, I tow and I only do 17 kilowatt hours per 100. Well, if you can do that, great, but these are the test results that I'm getting here under my conditions that I'm towing in. Okay, but that's another data point for you and another test done and dusted as well. So once again, thanks for joining me, really appreciate it, and do take care if you are towing out there, and we'll see you soon with much more on Down Under EV Adventures. Bye for now.